What's up, guys? This is Jay from COI. So, I want to talk about vote blue no matter who and why you should be against that idea. But first, I want to talk about what we've learned in, let's say, the last 4 or 5 years. What we've learned about America and its government. And we can pretty much just simplify that by saying that we have learned that if you don't say the quiet parts out loud, that if you have friends and power who are clinging to that power, who are easily manipulated and bullied, if you have corporate interests in your back pocket, if you give massive tax cuts to the 1%, and if you sprinkle opium for the masses, yet give them ditchweed, you can turn America into a dictatorship. We know this because this is the things that Trump has done in the last 3, 4 years. The issue for Trump is that you kind of need to be a thinking man. You need to be a few steps ahead to actually make this plan work. And Trump is not that. Trump has somehow bumblefucked his way into turning our democracy into a potential dictatorship. But I don't even think Trump realizes it. Trump has just kind of baby Huey'd himself through, and he's just looking to stay in power and not get arrested. And if you think I'm being too dramatic with that, understand that just today, a Republican nominated judge said that Trump's interactions with the DOJ are nothing less than that in a banana republic, namely being things like Roger Stone overriding his sentencing, General Flynn. Once that case looked at, Donald Trump is on General Barr's ass to save all of his friends from being in trouble. The real problem for all of us is the fact that waiting in the wings with over $60 billion is Mike Bloomberg. And Mike Bloomberg is a thinking man. He is a guy who's a few steps ahead. And he's a very dangerous man. Do you remember back when Trump was running, all the liberals would make fun of the Republicans and they would say, oh, remember Donald Trump said back in the 80s that it would be easy to win the Republican nominee because they're so stupid. That he would just act like he's a Republican and feed them meat and they would nominate him. Remember he said that? But he didn't actually say that. Someone else said that. It was just bullshit. But Bloomberg is doing just that. Bloomberg is a Republican. He ran as a Republican in 2006, and if you look at the legislation that he has passed and enacted, he's a Republican. And even more so, just a few interesting side notes about Mike Bloomberg. So, most of you liberals who listen to this probably went batshit crazy when Brett Kavanaugh was allowed to join the Supreme Court. Do you know who made that possible? Mike Bloomberg. And the reason why is because there was a Senate race between a Republican and a Democrat. And whoever won that race at that point would have given majority lead to the Senate. Meaning, if the Republican would have won, the Republicans would have had majority in the Senate. If the Democrat would have won, the Democrat. You get what I'm saying. Mike Bloomberg spent over, I think, $1.5 million $12 million on the Republicans' campaign. And they won. And then the Senate was able to allow Brett Kavanaugh into the Supreme Court. But it goes deeper than that. Okay? Number one, Mike Bloomberg has been accused of sexual harassment not one, not two, not five, but 41 times. And I know what you're saying. You're like, look, that was accused. Okay, fair enough. But if your babysitter was accused 41 times of diddling children, would you like still keep her on as your babysitter? I don't think so. Mike Bloomberg also said, when talking about stop and frisk, which understand that 80% of all citizens who were stopped and questioned and pushed against the wall, quote unquote, as of Mike Bloomberg, who instructed they should be pushed against the wall and searched, 80% of these people were minorities. When he talked about stop and frisk back in the day, he said his biggest concern is that too many white people are being caught up in it. Yeah, that's what he said. He also said that he was pretty much glad that they were getting low drug offenders in stop and frisk, teenagers with marijuana. But that's how we stop the crime. Basically, is his. There is a lot of bullshit that Mike Bloomberg has done. But I think the biggest one at this moment, and yes, it just barely in my mind overrides racism, overrides sexism, is the fact that he's basically just outward buying the election. He is buying our presidency. We're going to find out if it works. And I hate the idea that people keep throwing that out there. Well, we'll just see. This is we've never seen anything like it, and we'll find out. Without anyone actually bringing up the fact that he is buying our presidency. I I'm taken back by this because here's the thing. If it comes down to Bloomberg and Trump, and I'm pretty sure it will, I'm not going to vote. That doesn't mean I'm voting for Trump, but I just can't vote for Bloomberg. A person has to have principles. And I know a lot of people in my position feel the same way. That we have a group that we need to negotiate with, a group that we oppose, and that's the 1%. If we set precedent that the 1% can just buy the presidency, we're done. And not to mention, as I said, we set Mike Bloomberg up to be the dictator of America. Nobody wants that. The Republicans don't want that. The Democrats don't want that. No one wants that. But why is Bloomberg tracking so well? It's vote blue no matter who. I watched Bill Maher this weekend, and it's the exact reason why I'm not a Democrat. It's the reason why I'm not a part of this vote blue no matter who. He was defending Mike Bloomberg being a racist. And yeah, Bill Maher took a lot of backlash from that. But Bill Maher was like, well, it's just the future of our country. I don't care. And never stopped, never paused when he said that to think, oh, wait, this is exactly what I claim the Republicans are. This is exactly what I say the Trump supporters are. And that's what they are. If you're a Democrat, if you're on the left and you support Mike Bloomberg, you are the same as a Trump supporter. No two ways about it, because you are overlooking all of these problems. And look, that's what I gave you was like the tip of the iceberg. Bloomberg has a ton of problems. But if you overlook the racism, the sexism, just those two things alone, and you say, yeah, but he can beat Trump, it's worth it. Yeah, yeah. That maybe you should stop and think about how the Republicans felt when it was he could beat Hillary. It's worth it. And then they got attacked. So maybe they agreed after that. And once you get prodded enough, you say, fuck you. I don't care. This is my decision. I'm very worried about the future of America because I see two groups just dancing. One on the left and one on the right. And no one's stopping to question any of it. But it's tribal war. And we don't care by what standards we win this war. We don't care about what personal ethics or morals we follow or believe in. We have no standard. We have let our standard down just for the pure fact of winning. There's no difference. Gonna be absolutely no difference if Bloomberg wins or if Trump wins. Because one of the things that we'll be looking at is back-to-back presidents who are billionaires before they were presidents, who have connections to the 1%, who are just enthralled in corporate interests. And they'll be saying one thing after it. No matter what kind of base you have, no matter if you're Bernie Sanders or even Pete Buttigieg, you have no shot unless you have money. And we really will then be an oligarchy. There will be no question about it. So, for all my Democrat liberal listeners, think about who you're going to vote for. And I'm not trying to tell you who not to vote for, except for Bloomberg. Because trust me, he does not hold any of your values, anything he wants to pass. And if he does, by the way, you need to stop and think about maybe you're not a Democrat. Maybe you're a Republican. But just think about who you're voting for and get behind that person. I will say there is we'll close with this and something that Bo the Fifth Column was talking about. One of our former presidents said that we are a sanctuary country, that we should have open borders for refugees because that's a privilege that we are given, is that we get to take care of other people. We are the sanctuary for many, many endangered people. And that president was Ronald Reagan. If you're on the left or the right, and that doesn't make you go, wait, what? Yeah, you really got to think about which way our country's heading, where it's going, how we're doing. Because even though you might see graphs and you might see things that say we're going further to the left, nah, we're not. We're not at all. Because the right keeps pulling right and the left keeps trying to work with the right. Whenever the left tries to do anything, people who are supposedly on the left call that person a socialist, an outright socialist. They make no distinction in what their policies are. They just try to badger them into being socialists so that their moderate Republican candidate can win. But this is where we're heading, and hopefully we make some drastic changes before it's too late. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. You have a good evening.